AFTV, James, we've just been knocked out at the League Cup semi-final at home to Liverpool. What's your thoughts on the game first and foremost?
After an hour and 20 minutes of pretty much ranting on full time, tried to keep my head. I think this was. I think there's a couple of things here. Firstly, Liverpool are a very, very good side, and maybe they put to bed. I know Arsenal weren't great, but I think they've just put to bed the whole. They're nothing without Salah and Mane. I don't think anyone in their right mind ever said that, but there was always that feeling we can do something today because they don't have Salah and Mane. They still had a superb back four, and their midfield. They're just so well coached. They're so compact. They're I don't know. They just overwhelm you, kind of in all areas of the pitch, and they're a very good side. And I want to give them credit. Now we can put that aside. Arsenal was shocking today. A very good first 15, 16 minutes where I thought we started on the front foot. We tried to take the game to them. I think we tried to press. We had some openings. We were saying XG doesn't count the amount of times you're 3-on-2 or 2-on-1. You should do better with the chance. All those, those were moments where Arsenal could have done something and they didn't. They were the bits that really disappointed me. Some really loose passes from Smith Rowe. I thought Martinelli looked brilliant. I thought Odegaard did what he could, and actually credit to him. But just across the pitch, we lacked quality. We lacked a plan B. Once Liverpool sussed us out, we didn't have another gear to go into. We didn't have another way. Now, part of that is down to how good they are. But we've seen this against Everton, who have won one game in like 12 or 13 or whatever, and that was against us. We saw this against Man United, who were in terrible form, although we were better at times in that performance. We've just seen this a few too many times from Arsenal, where Brentford away, we just didn't have another gear to go into, whether we're missing players or not. Yes, Partey and Xhaka would have made a difference if they'd started today, but ultimately we don't have a plan B, and that comes down to what we do tactically.
Where did it go wrong today, though, James? I mean, a lot of people mention lack of foresight in the summer, African Cup of Nations, COVID being rife during winter periods and whatnot, and they put it to, Edu and the people above more so than Arteta or the players. But this calendar year so far, we've had a great performance against City, albeit a negative result. A poor performance against Forest, followed up by a great performance against Liverpool at Anfield with 10 men. Yeah. Again, followed up by a poor performance. What does it come down to? Why are we in this position we're in now?
Feels to me we step up when people don't expect it. We thought we'd lose against City, performed admirably. We thought we'd lose at Anfield, got a draw. Now you're thinking you wish that happened in the league, and we just lost, 6-0 on aggregate for this, because what does it matter in the end? I don't think it's a stretch, or I don't think it's sort of dramatic to say that this might have been lost in our transfer business. I don't think it's...
Summer or now?
150 million spent last summer, and a lot of areas were addressed. I'm going to cut them some slack and say you did a lot of business, so fair play. I think going into this window, they've had a lot of time to identify the problems in midfield. The problem in midfield, which comes down to A, lack of quality, and B, just shortage of players because of AFCON. Xhaka not reliable because of how many games he misses due to... Okay, do you know what? Maybe that's not true. He gets sent off sometimes, and that's why he's missing games at the moment. Partey, injury problems. We don't have reliable enough partnership in midfield, and they could have addressed that. They didn't. Maybe that's not the easiest thing to do, but then you don't let Maitland-Niles go. So I don't think it's a stretch to say that they didn't do their jobs from a transfer perspective going into this window. They didn't take us into this month as well equipped as we could be. Now, I'm not saying it's easy to do, but they should have performed a lot better than this in the window. Anything else? Inexperience today, it's a young midfield of Odegaard, Lokonga, Smith Rowe. I don't want to always use the young card, to bail them out, but I mean, they are going up against a really experienced side who, no, they didn't get that a few youngsters, Liverpool, but generally the core was there. And then where else? But just lack of quality. Again, I mentioned Arteta tactically. There wasn't a plan B. There hasn't been a plan B really since he's come in. Feels like if plan A doesn't work, if we don't get a goal in the first half, I don't know if we've got another way of doing it. I mean, Newcastle, we went in 0-0 at half time, but they're a poor side. We still won.
Is it? Sorry, you mentioned plan A, plan B. Is it fair to say his plan A has only really started forming in the last few months or this season so far?
Yeah, absolutely, which means that it's still prone to sometimes going wrong. Um, you know, when you look at Liverpool and City, they only really have a plan A. You don't say they really have a plan B, but I was making the point that Liverpool might bring on an Origi. That's kind of what I'm saying. Even if you're going to play the same way, at least have players that might ask different questions of the opposition. Um, I think if we're to address any of it between now and the end of the window, I think we need to go and beat Burnley. I think even with the players missing, we should have enough. Go and get a win against Burnley. Get 3 points on the board. Spurs go to Chelsea. We can only pray that that Leicester result doesn't kickstart their season. Hopefully they lose at the Bridge. We go back above them. And then go into what's a 2-week period without football before we go away to Wolves. Use that opportunity to bring in a midfielder and a striker. Add some much needed experience. More importantly, much needed quality. And try and there's just one thing now between now and the end of the season: Premier League football. Just go and pick up as many points as you can, see if it gets us in the top 4. There is time to make up for the mistakes, and there are mistakes that they made going into this window, and they've done a lot of good. We've praised Arteta and Edu a lot for the business they've done, last summer and getting this squad into the position it's in. But now add to it, keep. What's the word? I wasn't gonna say cash in, but just you're seeing potentially, the roots growing of a good thing. Add to it, water that plant, and give it some nutrients. Help it, and if we show ambition in this window, I still think we can.